So yeah, thank you very much for joining us this evening to just talk through the Year 6 sort of RSE relationships and sex education workshops that we're going to be running with Year 6 next year. I want to introduce you to Gemma. Gemma White works for Options Chichester, and Options Chichester is an organisation that we've as a local charity that we've worked with for the last I think it's about 3 years now with Gemma's previous colleague Natalie, and Natalie came in last year to speak to Year 6. So Gemma's super excited to engage with the school, but Gemma's just going to run through and give us an overview of what these sessions entail. Please do use the meeting chat. If you have a question at any point, please do use the meeting chat to write it, or put your hand up and then take your microphones off, and then you can by all means express that question. The whole point of this session is to ask questions if you have them. It's just to make people feel comfortable about sort of that education and the purpose of what we've got going on. Just to give you a bit of a sort of a wider understanding, we have got an RSE policy on the website. I send it out, and every year I do get feedback on it. So the new policy is on the website, and that had taken in consideration some of the feedback that came through from parents last year. And you also have the right to speak to Gemma and myself to understand what either's happening in this session and see the resources, or any of the resources for PSHE that we use to deliver right across the school. So do please email into me or to Mr. Garner from a primary perspective, and we will share you those. There's it's good to see those from time to time, but also good to talk them through the context of how they're being delivered, and that is what we're doing here. The other thing on our school website is what we call our roadmap. So all of our different subjects have roadmaps, and it just shows how some of the topics that we look at come up every year, and therefore there is a sort of a progression or a spiral approach to some of the learning based around those topics. So that's a good thing to have an eye on as well. But most importantly is to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with those sessions, and that we too are supporting you as parents, but also the children with the education in this area. So Gemma, I'm going to hand over to you. I know your microphone's working and these are your slides. So do please ask any questions should you have them, either raising hand or through the meeting chat. Thanks. Gemma.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you to the parents who could make it this evening, and thank you to the people who will watch this on YouTube when it comes out. I hope it will be helpful for you, and if you do have any questions and you're not watching this live, please do get in contact with the school and they can direct those questions to me if they can't answer them themselves. So I am the RSE teacher. I'll be coming into the school to teach your children lots of different things, and hopefully that'll all become clear tonight. There's a lot of information here, so I'm going to whiz through it for you, but if you want to go back to it, it's recorded so you can have a look at it again, and as I said, you can contact me. But I'm just going to go through these slides and read them through, and then if you have any questions, like Rob said, please go ahead and ask. So just a bit about myself. Oh, this isn't working. Oh, there we go. So I'm the education manager at the Pregnancy Options Centre, which is a charity based in Chichester. And I'm going to be delivering interactive, engaging educational sessions into Chichester Free School and also across Hampshire and West Sussex. So our aim is to help young people to get the education they need, to help them understand their bodies and to prepare them for the changes that they will experience. We hope that our sessions will help them develop confidence to talk about those changes so that they feel safe and secure on their journey to adulthood. I also work in secondary schools and colleges, so some of these slides that come up won't be appropriate for you guys. And a lot of what the DfE has brought out is guidance for secondary schools. So I don't want you to see stuff and think, oh my goodness, she's going to teach them about pornography, because I'm not. That comes at secondary school. So if you see bits up there, just give me a shout and I can just reassure you with that. So today we're going to go through, sorry, my clicker's not working, so sorry these aren't coming up straight away. So we're going to just reflect on our own experience of RSE, look at what the changes in RSE are, why RSE is important, what the DFE say about it, a breakdown of the sessions and some examples of the work, and how you can support your child on the RSE journey. So I know there's only a couple of you here, but if you're shy, maybe I'll get Rob to just reflect and talk about his experience of sex education in school.
I just remember in primary school sitting in the school hall with orange curtains, classic school curtains, and watching sort of a video, and that was about it. I went to a Church of England primary school, but that was about it. In secondary school, it was really just through my science lessons. There wasn't a great deal of further sort of exploratory stuff about it until sort of really a bit later on. So I really didn't get much at all.
Yeah, and I don't know about the others on here, but that was certainly my experience. And I think reflecting on that as an adult and actually teaching in this area, I think I definitely would have made more healthy decisions. I would have had better boundaries had I been taught about healthy relationships, sexual consent, and all those kinds of things. So what we've realized is actually if we don't educate our children in these areas, that they get their own education from school, from friends, from what they see on the media, which can actually be quite harmful, which is why it's so important that we do talk to them about it. So the RSE curriculum changed. Ofsted published a report as not yet good enough in 2013, which it found that 40% of schools PSHE education was deemed as inadequate or required improvement. So finally in 2020, the DFE passed a new RSE policy. And we needed that because the world is a very different place now to what it was then, and RSE needs to reflect this. There have been huge advancements in technology and the internet, and this of course has its plus side, but it's also raised many risks to our children and young people. If you think back, you know, if you're 18 now, you've never known life without YouTube, and a lot of education for our children within kind of the sex education comes from the internet, and we want to make sure that we are giving them the correct factual information before they're finding things elsewhere online.
Can I just put an extra note on that, Gemma? We very much stick closely to DFE guidance, and that often comes through from what's called the PSHE Association as well, and our resources are built around the PSHE Association's resources. There is a big sort of a DFE piece of work that's going on that they've said that they'll publish on the lead up to Christmas, which is a bit more specific than they have been before about what should get taught, how it should get taught, and to what age group. And one of the areas that they are particularly looking at is sort of sexual identity, gender, and that kind of element of RSE. And we've paused those lessons that we would have delivered last year, and we're waiting for that guidance to come out so we can make sure that, you know, what our current practice is very much fits that. There is less change based on sort of the scientific side that we're talking about here, but from gender identity and sexual identity and preferences, that is something that the government are releasing further guidance on, and we're waiting for that.
Thanks, Rob. So why is RSE important? So this is from the guidance, which you can find online. It's quite lengthy, so I've just put a few bits in here that are relevant, but do go ahead and read it if you wish. So we all want to see children grow up safely, and effective RSE shows that children are more likely to report abuse. That's because we teach them about boundaries and about what to do if they feel uncomfortable. So we don't specifically talk about abuse, but we do talk about healthy relationships, so they know what a healthy relationship is. Learning equips children to deal with social and cultural pressures at an appropriate age, in an appropriate way, sorry, as they grow. Children are starting puberty earlier, meaning that it's vital that they learn about the changes before they experience them. Children who are happy in their relationships are more likely to be better learners, and children are being taught the knowledge required to thrive in a modern world. So this is what young people have said about RSE. In a survey, what young people tell us about RSE. This was actually, there's an updated one that's 2020, and it's brought out the same thing really, even though we've got the new guidance. So it carried out by the Sex Education Forum, and again you can Google that, and they've got loads of resources and statistics about this. 2,326 young people up to the age of 25 educated in England revealed a large gap in young people's education about puberty, and here are some of the findings. 24% of females did not learn about periods before having started their period. 50% of young people did not learn about wet dreams at school, and 38 of male respondents had experienced wet dreams before learning about them, and 92% said that their RSE could have been improved. And it's shocking really in this modern age that you could have a little girl wake up with blood in her bed, blood coming from her vagina, and her have absolutely no idea why that's happening, which and the same with the males having wet dreams, you know, that they might think they've wet themselves, they, you know, they might be so ashamed and embarrassed of what to do with their sheets. But that's why we're teaching them these things are all normal. It's just part of growing up. And I'm sure some, you know, the majority of parents do talk to their children about that, but there are still quite a high percentage of children who are experiencing these before they're actually being taught about it. Children and young people have the right to know what will happen to their bodies to ensure that they're prepared for it. Effective RSE is about educating and informing rather than promoting. Good RSE will help eradicate the feelings of confusion and shame young people may experience around what may be a completely natural body reaction. So what did the DFE say? Effective RSE does not encourage early sexual experimentation. It should teach young people to understand human sexuality and respect themselves and others. It enables young people to mature, build their confidence and self-esteem, and understand the reasons for delaying sexual activity. Effective RSE also supports people throughout life to develop safe, fulfilling and healthy sexual relationships at the appropriate time. Now, this is what the DFE obviously goes all the way from primary, all the way through secondary, and even into years 12 and 13. So when you see this, please don't be shocked and worried that we're going to start talking about sex and sexual relationships. That is not something that we cover, but that is part of the guidance as the children get older. So why have external agencies, as in me, come into the school? And my clicker's not working again, sorry. So schools want to provide the best possible RSE for their pupils, but many teachers haven't had the opportunity for training in this area. And I think we all know how hard the teachers work and how many different plates that they have to keep spinning. And so for me to come in and be able to do this when I'm an expert in the area is super helpful for them. I can enrich what they're already doing. As Rob said, they already have a whole curriculum which they're delivering throughout the year, cross-curricular. And so this is just one part of it. And I can bring knowledge and perspectives and expertise into the classroom, contributing to that wider development. So you can access I've got access specialised knowledge and can provide up-to-date evidence-based information that is not readily available to the teacher. So I've got subscriptions to certain websites where I can get the statistics on things that a teacher might not be able to get. And students often feel more comfortable asking questions on what could be an embarrassing subject to someone who's not their usual classroom teacher. You know, I'm not going to be there all year with them or see them growing up through the school necessarily. So it's easier to ask someone coming into school than perhaps talk to their teacher. So this is a little bit of how and what I'm going to teach. So all the lessons are mixed gender. So that all the children get the same information. This is something that's really important, and something that I've actually just been discussing with my son, because my daughter has started her period, and it was important for him to know, oh, this is what's happening to your sister. This is what you might see, you know, and the changes. But actually, it shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be something she has to hide or she has to be embarrassed about. He's going to have hopefully a wife one day and maybe a daughter, so both genders need to all have the same information. Oh, that was just come up. The lessons are interactive, fun and engaging. So, you know, there'll be a mixture of videos where they can do group discussions, they're doing role plays, scenarios. During menstruation, they're putting pads on knickers and having a practice doing that. So there's lots of fun and engaging things that they can do. And throughout the RSE journey, we intend to answer any questions the student have factually and in a non-judgmental way. This makes it less likely that they'll search the internet for answers, risking exposure to inappropriate content. So if they ask me a question, I mean, if it's something I can't answer, I will redirect them and have that conversation with Rob so that he can speak to parents or carers at home. But if it's something I can answer, I'm just going to answer it in, you know, factually. I'm not going to make them feel embarrassed or ashamed. I'm used to talking about this. This is, you know, something that I'm really passionate about, and I want to give them the answers and satisfy that desire for them, because I don't want them to go home and Google it, because we've all put innocent things into a Google search before and something comes up and you think, crumbs, like where has that come from? So just really want to try and avoid them trying to find things out for themselves and give them the correct information. So these are the lessons that we're going to be doing: relationships, puberty and menstrual well-being. Session 1 is on relationships, and we'll look at the important characteristics of what makes a good friend, respecting relationships that differ to your own, and also looking at healthy boundaries. Session 2 and 3 are all on puberty, so that's physical changes, emotional changes, feelings, the internal and external reproductive organs and their functions, erections, wet dreams, masturbation and periods. And then session 4 is menstrual well-being, which covers what happens during a period, what is normal for most females, and a look at the different menstrual products that are available. And then the last session is reproduction, the journey of sperm and the egg during conception, including IVF and twins, the growth of the baby during pregnancy through to birth, and using the correct terminology and the function of the organs. Here's a few examples of some of the things that we do through the lessons. So this is quite small, but they're looking at making a loving relationship in the style of a recipe. So the things that would need to go in to make a loving relationship, like a shake of kindness, or 100 grams of joy and fun. So it's a nice task for them to do, to just kind of ease them into that first session, for me to build a rapport with them and them to have a little bit of fun, because they'll probably be feeling a little bit nervous and giggly or a little bit shy depending on their personalities, and this just eases them in quite nicely. This is an example of the external reproductive organs of the male, and there they have little cutouts of the words. So you'll have on there urethra, penis, scrotum, testicle, and then they have to match where it goes. And then they'll also find out the function of all of those. And this is a really fun bit that all the kids love. We have an ombia, which is a quiz, and they all get a little handset each, and then I give them a little quiz at the end just to see what they've learned. And this is an example of one of the questions. And with the handset, they press the answer, and then it makes a graph up on the interactive whiteboard, so we can see straight away how much they've learned from the session. At the beginning of the session, and they get asked a few questions about the subject that we're doing, so then we can measure that against the ombia quiz at the end to see the impact that it's having on their learning. So how can you support your child on their RSE journey? So the best way to support your child in any area of their life is just to talk to them and ask them about what they've been learning, just having that open and honest communication with them. And the parents who are watching this and the parents who are here tonight are the parents that most probably have those relationships with their children. So well done you. Let them ask questions and be curious. I mean, I know sometimes it can just really put you on the spot when they come out with these questions. I mean, my 14-year-old son came to me not long ago. I hope he doesn't watch this on YouTube. But he said, how many times is it normal to masturbate in the day? Because some of my friends say they do it 15 times. And I was like, oh, crumbs, what do I say to that? Like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what you're doing. And, you can feel like that as a parent, but actually, it's okay. It's just, even if you just have to put on your poker face and go, just ask them back, oh, I don't know, how many times do you think is okay, or just try and bounce it back to them, but just try not to shut it down or change the subject, or look too shocked, because it might actually put them off asking you again. Talk about the changes in the males and the females experience. It's really important that both genders know what the other is experiencing. And don't leave any questions unanswered if possible. Even if you say, let's have a look together, and you have a look on the internet together, at least then you can kind of navigate them to sites that are going to be more helpful, because we all do it, don't we? We want to know something, we Google it, and you're not necessarily getting the correct or the most helpful advice. Reassure them and avoid a shh culture. So again, it's just when they're asking those questions, not to be like, oh, I don't want to talk about this, I'm not comfortable with this, this is making me feel uncomfortable. Because as soon as you have that attitude and you want to kind of shut it down, they might not come to you again. And as your approach now can impact what they choose to talk to you about later. So it's just really important, if you can, to answer these questions, so that when they are 14, 15, 16, and they're asking you about sex and consent, and that they've got that relationship, you can start those building blocks now, so that when they're older and those bigger questions come up, that they know that they can talk to you. And it's okay to admit you don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to everything. I'm new in post, and I'm sure there'll be lots of things in the next few years that I won't know. But like I said, you can look at it together and work it out together. I think it's really important that they just don't feel alone in this, that they don't feel like they're going through it alone. So some of the websites that you might find useful here are the Outspoken Sex Ed, the NHS website, the Sex Education Forum. That's the one where you'll find lots of statistics and resources, and that's all nicely up to date. Even COVID hasn't seemed to manage to put that one out. The RSE Primary School Guide for Parents, that's when I was referring to the DFE. You'll find that on there, and there's a bit for primary school and there's a bit for secondary school too. And you'll see on there that you can opt out of part of this, which I'm sure Rob will say about at the end. Educating Eve, which is primarily for females, but obviously when you're looking at both genders knowing everything, it will be useful for males as well. And Think, which is super for online safety. I know the school does a lot around online safety, and that's not something I really touch on in here in these sessions, but Think is a really useful website. These two books were recommended by my predecessor, who said that they were great books for this age group. So The Boys and Girls Guide to Growing Up. I haven't read them myself, but Natalie, who did the job before me, was an absolute star. So I'm sure they will be fantastic books if you're looking for a book to buy your child. The other one is the Usborne one, which is really good. And if you've got quite a shy child, or you try and engage in conversations and they really just don't want to talk about it, it's just great to buy one of these and put it in their room, and maybe put a post-it on it and say, if you've got any questions, come and see me, if there's anything worrying you. And that's a great way to interact with them as well. You can kind of pass notes between each other, if they're too embarrassed to talk to your face, put a little note on there, they can send a little note to you, and it just might help communication a little bit. So I've whizzed through that really quickly. I hope I haven't overwhelmed you too much. There's lots and lots to take in there, but if you've got any questions, now's the time. I'm going to take, I'm not very good with awkward silences, so I'm going to take it that our parents here don't have any questions at the moment. I don't think there's any in the chat.
I think
So,
Susan's
yeah.
just writing a question now. No question from me is Susan's question. And I don't know if Debbie has one or not. Debbie, by all means, take your mic off if you do. If you don't, then understandably. So look, I just need to make you aware, as well as parents that might well sort of see this online. You do have the right as a parent to, parent in some respects how you want, obviously, but you have a right therefore to opt out of some of these sessions. Some of the sessions you may well think I'm happy with from this perspective. Others of the sessions you may say, actually, I'm not quite sure that I'd rather do that myself in my own way. And the way that sort of you go about the right to withdraw is to email through to Mr. Garner or Anne, myself, and just respect and ask so, and then we'll make sure that your child is doing something else during that time, effectively in the other class it's going to be. So and I know that this week we've got bikeability that's set up against these sessions with Gemma. So the way it runs, and not everybody in both classes is doing bikeability, but bikeability will happen in the morning for one of the classes and in the afternoon for the other class. And obviously Gemma's going to come in and do those sessions with those classes when they're not doing bikeability. So there's a big plan ahead. If you're got a child that is doing bikeability, I have sent an email out, and you've got the time with which those sessions will be run. But Gemma will talk a little bit more of that in due course. But yeah, thank you for your time, Gemma. I know Debbie's been writing something. I don't know if there's something that you want to bring up there, Debbie.
I was just trying to say thank you. That was very helpful, but it wouldn't let me send it. So
thank you, Debbie. That's very reassuring, and thank all of you for coming, especially as we had that little hiccup with coming onto Teams after Google. So I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
It's really difficult to sometimes talk about these topics because we all have a different way of parenting, so please don't think of anything we've said here as the right way or the wrong way to go about parenting. It's just trying to find the common ground that's right and proper, maybe for our children and the school, and also from everything we've seen of Chichester over the years. Options Chichester is all about sticking to the science and sticking to the guidance that's there. There isn't this disappearing off in different directions. Please don't think that. So your support with other parents as well that you might have through your social media groups. They may well be comments about the sessions or linking through to the video of this would be great. This will go live as soon as I can tomorrow, so it will be there if you can feed that back through your media feeds. That would be brilliant. Thank you. Right, well, I think that's us, Gemma. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Debbie. You got a round of applause in the background there from somebody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's great. But I hope they find the sessions really helpful, and at the right time and the right way, you have some really exciting and interesting conversations at home. Maybe. Right. Thank you. I'm going to turn off this recording now, and please do be in touch if you have any further questions in due course.
Thank you.
Right. Now, how do I turn the recording off? Stop recording. Easy as that.